So there I was minding my own business in the break room at Pinnacle Tech Solutions, stirring my coffee and scrolling through my phone, when I noticed this woman hovering near the microwave, pretending to heat up her sad desk salad, but really she's straining her ears like a surveillance device, trying to catch every word of the conversation I'm having with my colleague Jasper about how our department's new workflow system is basically held together with digital duct tape and prayers. And I'm thinking, great! Here we have another corporate spy who thinks workplace gossip is an Olympic sport. But little did I know, this woman was about to become my personal nightmare, and the reason I would develop an intimate understanding of why people say, trust no one, because apparently some people consider tattling to management a viable career advancement strategy. And this particular individual was about to turn workplace surveillance into an art form that would make federal intelligence agencies jealous of her commitment to destroying innocent colleagues through manufactured evidence and systematic character assassination disguised as corporate responsibility and employee advocacy. Her name was Veronica, which should have been my first warning sign, because every Veronica I've ever encountered has possessed the supernatural ability to turn minor workplace complaints into federal investigations. And she's got that particular brand of fake sweetness that comes from someone who smiles to your face while mentally drafting the email that's going to destroy your reputation. And I can see her calculating behind those oversized glasses like she's a human calculator, determining the exact monetary value of the information she's about to weaponize. And honestly, the woman looks like she stepped out of a corporate training video about what not to wear to the office if you want people to take you seriously. But apparently looking like a rejected extra from the office doesn't prevent you from becoming a master manipulator of workplace politics and a professional destroyer of careers who operates under the guise of being a concerned employee and model corporate citizen with an unwavering commitment to maintaining professional standards and organizational excellence. The thing about Veronica is that she's one of those people who mistake being observant for being intelligent and confuse collecting gossip with conducting research, and she's always lurking around conversations with this expression that suggests she's performing some kind of public service by documenting every casual complaint or offhand remark as if she's the unofficial quality control inspector for employee morale and job satisfaction. And what she doesn't understand is that normal people vent about work frustrations without actually wanting to overthrow the corporate structure. But Veronica hears someone say, "The printer is broken again," and immediately starts planning her presentation to the board of directors about widespread equipment failures and systematic organizational dysfunction that threatens the very foundation of our operational effectiveness and probably requires immediate intervention from senior leadership to prevent complete organizational collapse and the destruction of everything our company has worked to build over decades of careful growth and strategic planning. I should have recognized the signs earlier, like how she always appears whenever people are discussing anything remotely controversial, or how she asks leading questions disguised as friendly interest, and how she has this annoying habit of saying things like, "Well, I would never want to cause problems," but followed by statements specifically designed to cause maximum problems. And she's got this fake concerned tone that she uses when she's fishing for information that makes her sound like a discount therapist trying to extract confessions from unsuspecting patients. And honestly, the woman could probably charge admission for her performance art piece titled "How to be the most annoying person in every room you enter," while simultaneously destroying the careers and reputations of everyone around you through systematic manipulation of corporate policies and bureaucratic processes and the weaponization of HR departments against innocent employees who just want to do their jobs without becoming targets of elaborate character assassination campaigns. The first incident happens during a team meeting when our project manager Cameron is explaining why our latest client delivery got delayed, and I make what I think is a completely reasonable observation about how the approval process has more steps than a military security clearance investigation, And everyone laughs because it's true and we all know it. But Veronica is sitting there taking notes, like she's a court reporter documenting evidence for a future lawsuit. And I'm thinking, lady, this is called team bonding through shared frustration, not corporate espionage. But apparently she missed that memo, along with several others about normal human social interaction and workplace camaraderie, and the basic understanding that people sometimes express minor complaints without intending to undermine the entire organizational structure, or declare war on management, or threaten the stability of our corporate hierarchy through revolutionary rhetoric and seditious commentary. She's scribbling in her little notebook with the intensity of someone documenting war crimes. And I notice she's not just writing down what I said, but she's adding her own editorial commentary and context that transforms a casual observation about bureaucratic inefficiency into what looks like evidence of systematic insubordination and anti-management sentiment. And I'm watching her create this fictional narrative in real time, where my harmless joke becomes a smoking gun, proving that I'm a toxic employee who spreads negativity and undermines corporate culture. And honestly, it's like watching someone manufacture evidence for a crime that never happened while convincing themselves they're performing a public service and protecting the organization from dangerous influences that could corrupt other employees and destroy the positive workplace environment that everyone depends on for professional satisfaction and career advancement. Part 4. The meeting continues and Cameron is explaining the new quality assurance protocols when Jasper makes a comment about how we might need to hire additional staff to handle the increased workload. And Veronica's pen starts moving again like she's documenting evidence of resource mismanagement and budget concerns. And I'm watching this woman turn normal business discussions into conspiracy theories and legitimate operational concerns into evidence of employee dissatisfaction and management failures. And she's creating this alternate reality, where every workplace conversation is a potential threat to organizational stability. And every casual comment is a cry for help or a sign of deeper systemic problems that require immediate investigation and corrective action. 2 days later, I get called into a meeting with HR and my direct supervisor, Elena, who both look like they're about to deliver news that someone died, and they start asking me about my comments regarding company processes and whether I feel supported by management and if I have concerns about operational efficiency. And I'm sitting there thinking, what fresh hell is this, while trying to figure out who turned a casual joke into a formal HR investigation. And that's when Elena mentions that they received some concerns about employee satisfaction and potential issues with management practices. And suddenly, I realized that Veronica has struck like a corporate assassin with a smile and a filing cabinet full of manufactured drama and carefully orchestrated accusations designed to destroy my credibility and reputation, while positioning herself as the hero who bravely came forward to protect the organization from toxic influences and negative attitudes. The HR representative, whose name is Janet, and who looks like she'd rather be anywhere else on the planet, starts reading from what appears to be a detailed report about workplace negativity and employee concerns. And she's using phrases like creating a hostile environment and undermining management authority and displaying unprofessional attitudes toward company policies. And I'm listening to this recitation, thinking, this sounds like she's describing a completely different person, because apparently making one joke about bureaucratic inefficiency now qualifies as corporate terrorism and revolutionary activity that threatens the very foundation of our organizational structure and requires immediate intervention to prevent widespread employee rebellion and the complete collapse of workplace discipline and professional standards. The report that Janet is reading from contains specific quotes and timestamps and contextual details that suggest someone has been conducting surveillance operations worthy of an intelligence agency. And I'm realizing that Veronica hasn't just been casually eavesdropping. She's been systematically documenting conversations and building detailed files on multiple employees and creating comprehensive profiles of people. She considers threats to her position or obstacles to her career advancement. and she's turned workplace monitoring into a full-time occupation that probably requires more planning and organization than her actual job responsibilities, and demonstrates a level of dedication to destruction that would be impressive if it weren't so sociopathic and harmful to innocent people. But here's where it gets interesting, because while Janet is reading from her script about my alleged crimes against corporate harmony, I'm doing what I always do when people try to ambush me with accusations. I'm listening carefully and taking mental notes and analyzing the language and timing, and what I'm realizing is that someone has been very systematic about documenting conversations and building a case. And the level of detail suggests that this wasn't a spontaneous complaint, but rather a carefully orchestrated campaign designed to make me look like a toxic employee who spreads negativity and undermines team cohesion, while simultaneously positioning the complainant as a concerned colleague who courageously came forward to protect the organization from my dangerous influence and save the company from the destructive impact of my allegedly unprofessional behavior and attitude problems. Janet continues reading from what sounds like a dissertation on my character flaws and professional inadequacies, and she mentions specific incidents that I barely remember, but which have apparently been transformed into evidence of systematic misconduct and workplace violations. And I'm listening to this fictional account of my behavior, thinking that Veronica has either confused me with someone else or she's operating in an alternate reality, where casual workplace conversations are evidence of criminal activity, and expressing minor frustrations about bureaucratic processes is equivalent to threatening national security and undermining the fundamental principles of corporate governance and organizational effectiveness. The meeting ends with me being placed on what they call a performance observation period, which sounds like corporate speak for "we're watching you and waiting for you to give us a reason to fire you." And I'm walking back to my desk thinking about how Veronica managed to turn casual workplace banter into a formal disciplinary action, and wondering what kind of person dedicates their professional energy to destroying their colleagues instead of actually doing their job. But then I remember that some people find purpose in chaos and drama because they lack the competence to create anything constructive or meaningful, and they derive satisfaction from tearing down others rather than building themselves up through legitimate achievements and professional excellence, and contributing positively to organizational success and team effectiveness. That's when I decide that if Veronica wants to play corporate warfare, then she's about to discover why you should never start a fight with someone who has better strategic planning skills and more patience than you do. Because while she's been busy collecting gossip and manufacturing complaints, I've been building relationships and establishing credibility and documenting everything with the kind of attention to detail that would make a federal investigator proud. And she's about to learn that the game she thinks she's winning is actually just the opening move in a much larger strategy that she doesn't even know she's playing, and that her amateur-hour surveillance operation is about to be dismantled by someone who understands the difference between collecting information and building a case, and who knows how to turn defensive tactics into offensive weapons that can destroy an enemy more thoroughly than they ever imagined possible. I start paying attention to Veronica's patterns, and what I discover is fascinating, because this woman has turned workplace surveillance into a full-time occupation. And she's not just randomly collecting information, she's specifically targeting people who she perceives as threats to her position or her carefully constructed image as the perfect employee. And I realize that I'm not her first victim. I'm just her latest project in what appears to be a systematic campaign to eliminate anyone who might outshine her or challenge her self-appointed role as the office watchdog and moral authority and unofficial enforcer of corporate compliance and workplace behavior standards, and protector of organizational culture and professional excellence. The more I observe her, the more I understand that Veronica operates like a corporate predator who has identified the HR department as her primary weapon. And she's learned how to manipulate corporate policies and bureaucratic processes to eliminate competitors and enemies while maintaining plausible deniability and presenting herself as a concerned employee who just wants to maintain professional standards and protect the organization from toxic influences and negative attitudes that could damage team morale and operational effectiveness. And honestly, it's like watching a masterclass in workplace manipulation conducted by someone who should be teaching seminars on how to destroy careers while looking like the victim and how to weaponize corporate systems against innocent employees while maintaining perfect cover and institutional protection. So I begin my own investigation, and what I find is that Veronica has been filing complaints about various employees for months, always framed as concerns about workplace culture or team dynamics, and always carefully worded to make herself sound like a concerned colleague rather than a vindictive gossip monger. And she's been building relationships with people in HR and management by positioning herself as a reliable source of information about employee issues and department morale, and basically turning herself into the unofficial eyes and ears of corporate oversight, while simultaneously eliminating anyone who might threaten her position or expose her incompetence or challenge her authority as the self-appointed guardian of workplace propriety and professional standards and organizational excellence. I discovered that she has a pattern of targeting high-performing employees who receive recognition or praise from management, and she systematically builds cases against them using manufactured evidence and distorted interpretations of innocent conversations, and she's particularly skilled at taking casual workplace banter and transforming it into evidence of serious policy violations or attitude problems that require disciplinary action and eventual termination. And she's created a climate of fear in our department, where people are afraid to speak freely or express any kind of dissatisfaction because they know she's always listening and always ready to turn their words into weapons against them and destroy their careers through systematic harassment disguised as corporate responsibility and employee advocacy. But here's what Veronica doesn't know about me. I've spent years working in environments where documentation and evidence matter more than accusations and assumptions, and I understand the difference between legitimate workplace concerns and manufactured drama designed to destroy reputations and advance personal agendas. And while she's been playing amateur detective, I've been conducting professional reconnaissance. And what I've discovered is that her entire campaign against me is built on distortions, half-truths, and outright fabrications that won't survive any kind of serious scrutiny from anyone who understands how to evaluate evidence and distinguish between facts and fiction, and recognize the difference between genuine workplace issues and elaborate character assassination campaigns conducted by sociopathic employees who use corporate systems as weapons against innocent colleagues. I start documenting everything, and I mean everything, from the exact timing of conversations, to the specific wording of comments, to the context and circumstances surrounding every interaction that Veronica has twisted into evidence of my alleged misconduct, and I'm building a timeline that shows how she systematically misrepresented casual workplace banter as serious complaints about management and company policies, and how she turned normal expressions of frustration into accusations of creating a hostile work environment and undermining organizational effectiveness, and how she manufactured a comprehensive case against me using nothing but lies, distortions, and creative interpretations of innocent conversations, and completely fabricated incidents that never actually occurred, but which she documented with the kind of detail that makes them seem credible to people who weren't present and don't understand her methods. The breakthrough comes when I realized that Veronica made a critical error in her campaign against me. She claimed that I made specific comments about management incompetence during a team meeting that I supposedly attended, except that I have calendar records showing I was in a client presentation during that exact time, and meeting minutes that document who was actually present and what was actually discussed. And suddenly, her entire narrative starts falling apart like a house of cards in a hurricane. Because if she lied about this one detail, then everything else she reported becomes suspect and her credibility evaporates faster than water in a desert heat wave. and her carefully constructed case against me reveals itself as nothing more than an elaborate work of fiction designed to eliminate a perceived threat to her position and reputation. That's when I decide to go on the offensive and I schedule a meeting with Janet from HR. And I come armed with more documentation than a congressional hearing. And I lay out my case with the precision of a prosecutor presenting evidence to a jury, and I show her the timeline, the discrepancies, the contradictions, and the clear pattern of harassment and false reporting that Veronica has been engaging in, and I watch Janet's expression change from professional skepticism to genuine concern as she realizes that she's been manipulated by someone who turned fictional storytelling into a corporate weapon and used the HR department as her personal enforcement mechanism for eliminating perceived threats and competitors and destroying innocent employees while maintaining perfect cover and institutional protection. I explained to Janet how Veronica has been systematically targeting employees with false complaints and how she's been using HR as her personal enforcement mechanism to eliminate people she perceives as competition or threats. And I provide specific examples of other employees who have been subjected to similar treatment. And I point out that this pattern of behavior creates actual liability for the company, because allowing an employee to weaponize the HR process against her colleagues constitutes harassment and creates a genuinely hostile work environment for everyone except the person doing the harassing. And honestly, it's like watching someone realize they've been played by a master manipulator who understands corporate systems better than the people who designed them, and who has been operating an elaborate scam right under their noses while they provided her with the tools and authority to destroy innocent people. Janet starts asking questions and taking notes, and I can see her connecting the dots and realizing that she's been played by someone who understands how to manipulate corporate systems and bureaucratic processes to achieve personal objectives, and she's beginning to understand that Veronica isn't a concerned employee reporting legitimate workplace issues. She's a workplace predator who has figured out how to use company policies as weapons against anyone who stands in her way or threatens her carefully constructed image as the perfect employee and model corporate citizen who deserves recognition and advancement based on her dedication to maintaining workplace standards and professional conduct and organizational excellence and team effectiveness. I provide Janet with documented evidence of Veronica's pattern of false reporting, including emails where she contradicts her own previous statements and notes where she admits to exaggerating incidents to make them sound more serious, and recordings where she discusses her strategies for eliminating specific employees who she considers threats to her position. And I'm watching Janet realize that she's been dealing with someone who operates like a corporate serial killer. Except instead of murdering people, she destroys careers and reputations while maintaining perfect plausible deniability and presenting herself as the hero who protects the organization from toxic employees and negative influences and unprofessional behavior that could damage organizational culture and team morale. The investigation that follows is swift and thorough, and what they discover is even worse than what I documented. Because apparently Veronica has been engaging in this behavior for years, and she's destroyed multiple careers and created a climate of fear and suspicion throughout the department where people are afraid to speak freely or express any kind of dissatisfaction because they know she's always listening and always ready to turn their words into weapons against them. And honestly, the woman has single-handedly created more workplace toxicity than a chemical spill in an office building, while convincing management that she's the solution to workplace problems rather than the primary cause of them and the architect of systematic harassment campaigns that have destroyed innocent people and damaged organizational effectiveness. They find evidence that she's been recording conversations without consent and taking photographs of computer screens and collecting information about employees' personal lives and using all of this intelligence to build cases against people she wants to see removed from the company, and the HR department realizes that they've been enablers in what amounts to workplace terrorism conducted by someone who should have been fired years ago. but instead was allowed to operate because she was smart enough to frame her harassment as corporate responsibility and employee advocacy, and concern for maintaining professional standards and organizational effectiveness and team cohesion and workplace excellence. The investigation reveals that Veronica has files on virtually every employee in the department containing detailed profiles of their perceived weaknesses, vulnerabilities, and potential violations that could be used against them. And she's been systematically building cases against multiple people simultaneously, while presenting herself as the perfect employee who deserves recognition and advancement for her dedication to corporate values and workplace excellence. And honestly, it's like discovering that your seemingly helpful colleague is actually running a surveillance operation that would make intelligence agencies jealous of her thoroughness and dedication to destroying innocent people while maintaining perfect operational security and institutional protection. They also discover that she's been manipulating performance reviews and project assignments to sabotage other employees while ensuring that she receives credit for their work and accomplishments. And she's been systematically undermining team collaboration and communication to create conflicts that she can then report as evidence of workplace dysfunction and management failures. And she's basically turned our entire department into her personal laboratory for testing different methods of destroying careers and reputations while advancing her own position through elimination of competition, rather than through legitimate achievement and professional excellence and meaningful contributions to organizational success. The confrontation happens in a conference room with Janet present as a witness, and when they present Veronica with the evidence of her systematic harassment and false reporting campaign, her face goes through more color changes than a mood ring in a tornado, and she starts stammering about misunderstandings and good intentions and how she was just trying to maintain professional standards. And I'm sitting there watching her realize that her entire strategy has backfired spectacularly, and that all her careful planning and meticulous documentation has been turned against her like a legal boomerang with razor-sharp edges that's about to destroy everything she's worked to build while exposing her as the sociopathic predator. She really is beneath her carefully constructed facade of corporate responsibility and employee advocacy. She tries to maintain her innocent act, but the evidence is overwhelming and includes her own emails and notes that clearly show premeditation and malicious intent. And when Janet starts reading from Veronica's personal files about her plans to eliminate certain employees and her strategies for manufacturing complaints, the woman's facade crumbles faster than a sandcastle in a tsunami, and she's left with nothing but pathetic excuses and desperate attempts to blame everyone else for her own systematic campaign of workplace destruction and career assassination that she's been conducting for years, while presenting herself as a model employee and concerned team member who deserves recognition and advancement for her dedication to organizational excellence and professional standards. The best part is watching her realize that all her victim playing and fake concern has been exposed as calculated manipulation, and that everyone now knows she's been lying about her colleagues for months, while presenting herself as a model employee and concerned team member. And she's sitting there like a defendant who just watched their alibi get demolished by security footage, while the prosecutor presents a smoking gun with her fingerprints all over it, and DNA evidence that proves beyond any doubt that she's guilty of everything she's been accused of, and more crimes that haven't even been discovered yet, and probably never will be, because her career as a workplace predator is over permanently. Janet explains that Veronica's employment is being terminated immediately for harassment, creating a hostile work environment, making false statements to HR, and violating company policies regarding employee privacy and professional conduct, and she's being escorted from the building with security supervision to ensure she doesn't have any opportunities for retaliation or evidence destruction. And I'm thinking, this is exactly what happens when you mistake manipulation for intelligence and assume that other people are too stupid to recognize systematic harassment disguised as corporate citizenship and professional concern for workplace standards and organizational effectiveness and team morale and employee satisfaction and all the other buzzwords she used to disguise her predatory behavior. The aftermath is even more satisfying than the confrontation, because word spreads through the office faster than gossip at a high school reunion, and everyone realizes that the person they thought was the perfect employee was actually a workplace predator who had been destroying careers and relationships for years while hiding behind a mask of professionalism and concern, and suddenly all the mysterious HR investigations and unexplained disciplinary actions make sense, and people understand why they felt like they were walking on eggshells whenever Veronica was around, and why so many talented employees had been terminated or transferred under suspicious circumstances that nobody could explain until now, when the truth finally came to light and revealed the scope of her systematic destruction. My performance observation period gets cancelled immediately, and I receive an official apology from management, along with assurances that they're implementing new policies to prevent this kind of abuse of HR processes, and they're conducting a comprehensive review of all complaints filed by Veronica to identify other employees who may have been wrongfully disciplined or terminated based on her false reports and manufactured evidence. And honestly, it's like watching corporate dusties finally catch up with someone who thought they were untouchable and could destroy innocent people without ever facing consequences for their actions or accountability for the damage they caused to so many lives and careers over the years of their predatory behavior. The irony is delicious because Veronica spent so much time and energy trying to destroy my reputation and career that she completely neglected to protect herself from the consequences of her own actions. And she was so focused on collecting evidence against others that she created a massive paper trail documenting her own misconduct and policy violations. And she basically built the case for her own termination while thinking she was building cases against everyone else. And honestly, it's like watching someone dig their own grave while complaining about how hard the ground is and how unfair it is that they have to do manual labor when they should be relaxing and enjoying the fruits of their systematic destruction of innocent colleagues. Retry Cloud can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.